Have you ever stopped in the middle of an ordinary day, a quiet moment while walking down the street, brushing your teeth, or staring into the mirror, and wondered, what if I've lived this exact moment before? Not just once, but infinite times? And not just this moment, but your entire life, every decision, every joy, every regret, repeating over and over in an endless cosmic loop? Frightening? Comforting? Both. This idea, both haunting and sublime, is at the heart of one of the most provocative concepts in philosophy, eternal recurrence. It's a thought experiment that stretches the boundaries of metaphysics, rattles the cage of human ethics, and challenges us to confront a terrifying but potentially transformative question. If you had to live your life again and again forever, would you live it differently? Let's unpack this profound idea, philosophically, spiritually, and ethically, and ask, is eternal recurrence just a metaphysical doctrine? Or is it a profound ethical challenge disguised as a cosmic riddle? Welcome to the unfolding journey, a space where we explore the deep currents beneath our everyday thoughts, dive into the vast ocean of philosophy, and uncover truths that challenge how we see ourselves and the universe. If you're drawn to ideas that make you pause, reflect, and maybe even rethink your entire existence, you've found your tribe. Let's unfold this journey together. 1. What is eternal recurrence? Let's begin with the basics. The idea of eternal recurrence, or eternal return, suggests that the universe, and everything in it, is recurring, has already recurred, and will continue to do so forever in exactly the same way. Every moment, every life, every universe replays endlessly in an infinite loop. The roots of this idea stretch back to ancient civilizations. The Stoics, for example, believed in a kind of cyclical cosmology where the world periodically dissolves in fire, ekpyrosis, and is reborn identically. Hindu cosmology speaks of cyclical time as well, vast epochs called yugas repeating across eternity. But the idea as most of us encounter it today is famously associated with Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher who reintroduced eternal recurrence not just as a cosmic theory, but as a moral and existential test. 2. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence, a thought experiment. In The Gay Science, Nietzsche presents eternal recurrence as a thought experiment. He writes, "What if some day or night a demon were to steal after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, 'This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more.' Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth? Or have you once experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered, 'You are a god and never have I heard anything more divine'?" In this moment, Nietzsche is not so much asserting that eternal recurrence is true in a scientific sense. Rather, he's using it as a powerful ethical mirror. It's a test. Could you embrace your life so fully that you'd be willing to relive every second of it, again and again, for eternity? Think of it this way. If nothing ever changes, if every mistake, every triumph, every failure repeats forever, how does that change the weight of our choices? Would we live more intentionally? Would we avoid regret? Would we strive for greatness or sink into despair? 3. Eternal recurrence as a metaphysical doctrine. So, is eternal recurrence just a metaphor? Or is it a real, testable theory about the nature of time? Some scholars and physicists have explored the idea of cyclical time in theoretical models. In certain interpretations of cosmology, like the oscillating universe theory, the cosmos could collapse and re-expand repeatedly, potentially leading to endless cycles of existence. However, these cycles are not identical in content, only in structure. The eternal return Nietzsche spoke of, where everything happens exactly the same way, remains metaphysically speculative. In Nietzsche's own writing, there is ambiguity. He seems, at times, to flirt with the idea that eternal recurrence could be an actual feature of the universe. But he was also deeply skeptical of metaphysics. It's more likely that Nietzsche was less interested in the scientific truth of eternal recurrence, and more invested in its psychological and ethical implications. So while eternal recurrence may not be a cosmological doctrine we can prove, it acts as a metaphysical provocation, a challenge to how we see life, time, and meaning. 4. Eternal recurrence as an ethical challenge. Let's look at it from the ethical angle, the Nietzschean challenge. If your life, just as it is, were to repeat forever, would you embrace it? Would you curse it? Or would you start making different choices? Today? This is the ethical core of eternal recurrence. It demands radical responsibility. If you knew that every decision would echo eternally, not just in memory, but in infinite repetition, what would you change? This idea strips away the comfort of do-overs, or imagined futures. There's no final reward, no afterlife escape, no next life to get it right. There's only this life again and again. In that sense, it's not about what happens after death, but about how you live while you're alive. Nietzsche believed that the ideal response to this challenge was the Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. To not merely endure life, but to love it, every painful and beautiful part of it. To live in such a way that you could say yes to reliving your life eternally, not because it was perfect, but because you lived it authentically, courageously, and deliberately. 5. Eternal recurrence in modern life. In our modern world, the idea of eternal recurrence might seem irrelevant or too abstract. But think about it. In an age of algorithms, endless content loops, and curated identities, are we not already repeating ourselves in some way? Many of us live on autopilot, repeating habits, scrolling through the same feeds, living through cycles of distraction, dissatisfaction, and fleeting gratification. In that context, Nietzsche's thought experiment becomes startlingly relevant. Eternal recurrence forces a confrontation. Are you living a life you would be willing to repeat? Or are you trapped in cycles that you wish you could break? It's a wake-up call, a philosophical jolt out of complacency. 6. Eternal recurrence and the self. There's another profound dimension to this idea, its impact on the notion of self. If you must live the same life forever, then your identity is not just who you are in this moment, but the sum total of all your repeated actions. You are not what you think or intend. You are what you choose again and again. This pushes us toward existential honesty. There's no hiding from your life if you must relive it forever. Every compromise, every betrayal of self, every cowardice, it all returns. But so does every moment of courage, every act of love, every instance of growth. Eternal recurrence doesn't judge, it just repeats. The ethical weight is not cosmic punishment, but personal ownership. 7. Is eternal recurrence life-affirming or nihilistic? A common misunderstanding is that eternal recurrence is nihilistic, a vision of hopeless repetition. But Nietzsche intended the opposite. He introduced it as an antidote to nihilism. In a world where old religious frameworks were collapsing and objective values were fading, Nietzsche sought a new grounding, a reason to affirm life even in the absence of divine purpose. Eternal recurrence asks, can you find meaning in this life, even without guarantees? Can you affirm existence without appeal to an afterlife, salvation, or final judgment? If you can say yes to eternal recurrence, you've overcome nihilism. You've created your own meaning. That's the heart of Nietzsche's philosophical revolution. 8. Eternal recurrence today, a practical reflection. So, what does all of this mean for you, right now in your life? Eternal recurrence is not just a theory to ponder. It's a mirror. It invites you to ask, am I living a life I would want to relive forever? What would I change today if I knew this moment was eternal? What parts of my life do I embrace fully? What parts do I avoid? This isn't about perfection. It's about intention, about living in such a way that, even with your flaws, you can still say yes to your life. This is not easy, but that's the point. Eternal recurrence isn't comfort food. It's philosophical fire. It burns away illusion and reveals what matters. In the end, eternal recurrence might not tell us how the universe works, but it tells us something even more vital, how we might choose to live. Whether you see it as a metaphysical idea or an ethical gauntlet, its power lies in its challenge, a challenge to live fully, deliberately, and courageously.